Hello, everybody. My guest today is Adam Broadway. He's a lifelong tech entrepreneur, adrenaline adventurer whose deep technical knowledge and strategic business acumen helped in the acquisition of his previous SaaS business to Adobe in 2009. He's an expert in building high-performance teams, technology, and marketplaces. Adam and his team love to solve hard problems alongside enterprise and SMB clients alike. His current product, called Near Me, is going through a rebrand. We're going to talk about it today. Adam, are you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Nathan, for having me on the show.
Of course. What are you rebranding to?
Platform OS.
Okay.
Platform-os.com is the website.
And what's it do?
Well, the way we came to be where we are now is after my last company, Business Catalyst, was sold to Adobe in 2009, there was a shift going on in what we saw from traditional e-commerce, one-to-many type businesses, to more of the marketplace. You know, they talk about the changing place of work, marketplaces for accessing talent on an ad hoc basis, Airbnb. eBay was a good example of a new way of connecting people to products. Obviously, Lyft and Uber, marketplaces. And so we decided to shift from what we'd previously seen as one-to-many type of e-commerce to a many-to-many model, which is the traditional marketplace. And Near Me Marketplaces was what we were originally branded as. But over the last 2 years in particular, our product breadth has gone from not just marketplaces to learning management systems and CRM and accounting and you name it. People are building that on us. So we decided Platform OS was the new brand.
And what is so can you give an example of a customer that's using you that you can talk about and really describe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can even do a screen share if that.
Screen share won't work, but tell me about one.
You bet. Well, Intel is a client, and here's an example of an enterprise who, like many enterprise companies, are going cap in hand to the big social media companies like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and saying, can we please get some information on our community? Because people are going off and building a Facebook group, and in there might be one related to Intel. So Intel say, hey, why can't we build our own version of Facebook? And that's what they've done with DevMesh. DevMesh is a Intel-branded Facebook for developers all over the world to connect with other developers in the Intel ecosystem. And they're listing up their projects. They're joining groups, public, private, secret groups. So Intel has their own version of Facebook, if you like, on our platform. Hallmark is another example.
And so where are you playing in that? You're like an SDK that they use to code this faster?
You could say that. It is like an SDK, but it's fully hosted, so you don't have to worry about back-end technology. Our platform is a big wrapper around AWS, around Azure, around Google hosting, around Alibaba as well. So you can deploy on any of the infrastructure as a service.
I see. And is this a pure-play SaaS company?
So we're a platform as a service, and we have SaaS businesses building on top of us. But I guess in our direct relationships with bigger brands, we are the SaaS provider. But underlying that is our platform product on which SaaS companies are building, as I said, learning management systems and the like.
So on average, and I want to avoid going down every customer cohort here because I'm sure you have many use cases, but on average, what's a customer paying for this in terms of ACV, would you say?
Okay, so at the low end, say we have a startup that came to us, 3 ladies who quit their day jobs as lawyers, and they wanted to start a high-end ladies' fashion dress rental business. They set up the site for less than $10,000 and are paying $500 a month. So that's at the low end. For a marketplace, we go down to $100 a month for smaller, just non-marketplace sites. But that's thinking of the smaller, medium-sized businesses. On the high end, UiPath, I don't know if you've heard about them recently in the news, robotic process automation company UiPath. They had a $1 billion valuation at March this year and now have a $3 billion. And they are now running their marketplace on our platform as well as a whole bunch of other things. They're at the enterprise tier. And in that scenario, they have their own dedicated stack, DevOps, and a whole bunch of things that they effectively rent from us. So that pricing point is, you're starting at the $80,000 setup and going up from there. And monthly rentals start at $2,000 a month.
Okay, so basically, ignoring the setup fees, you basically have $500 to $2,000 per month, something like that. And would you fair to say, which one do you skew towards? Would you say it's more 2,000 or more 500?
Actually, there's a nice split of 50-50 right now. There's a
Okay.
lot of entrepreneurs jumping in and creating marketplaces in very specific niches. A lot of communities of practice, if you like.
So is it fair to say then an average might fall right in the middle there, about $1,000 a month?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
interesting. And that setup fee, is that always kind of a portion of the first year ACV? Like, how do you price that setup fee?
Yeah, so the setup fee is more around the heavy lifting on getting the site or the instance set up. Now, we've automated a lot of that, but it's usual for somebody to want some customization for their front-end design to be applied. And so that's where that comes in.
Interesting. Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Over the past 12 months, when you look at your total 100% revenue pie, what percent has come from kind of the one-time setup fees versus true SaaS?
Okay, I would say 30%.
Okay.
30 to 40% is on. So the model is true SaaS. It's recurring. ARR is where we're focused. And now that we have channel partners, because developers come on board and build on top of us, there's no setup fee involved there. They're basically selling and building anything on top, and it's all subscription revenue.
Oh, cool. Okay, got it. That makes sense. And put this on a timeline for us. When did you launch? What year?
So we launched just on 4.5 years ago. So was that 2004? We started with
Wait, hold on. 2004 or 2014?
Sorry, 2014. Yeah, dropped 10 years out of there. Good catch. And so I'm wishing my life away.
That's okay.
We kicked off with a marketplace called Desks Near Me. We wanted to make sure we could build a marketplace and understood not just the technology nuances, but what's the customer experience like outside of the technology. You need to be able to answer the phones. You've got to understand how both sides, the guests and the host, work. So after building that, we then had been doing that on our white labeled marketplace engine. That's when we went into Near Me about 18 months after launching Desks Near Me. Mm-hmm. We opened up the platform for others. And then since then, we've seen a lot of different types of businesses come and go. And now we're really consolidated. Our growth is starting to get into what do you call it? Crossing the chasm. We're on that chasm. We're on the other side of the chasm on that.
That's Jeffrey Moore language there. So quick questions here about how you've done this: bootstrapped or raised capital?
Bootstrapped.
Okay.
We've been putting our own money in as far as working hard, getting real customers, solving real problems, and
how many customers have you scaled to today?
So we have over 300 sites. Not all of them are live, and some of them have dropped off along the way.
What about just like active live today, would you say?
Active live, I would say 150, about half.
Why do they drop off?
So in the case of entrepreneurs, and you might say that some of them are wantrepreneurs, they want to be an entrepreneur. The wantrepreneurs go in and they don't have the stickability. They don't realize that it actually takes about 3 years to get a business to full gestation and ready to rock and roll. So when they're not $1 billion unicorn in the first 12 months, some of them just go, too hard. Others just haven't researched their niche well enough and go off and go, okay, I'm going to come back and build something on this a little differently. So that's the main reason why.
Interesting. Now, so if I take 150 active today, right, and you said the average is called maybe $1,000 per month, it looks like just the SaaS string, you're doing about 150 grand per month right now. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate.
And take me back a year. What were you doing in terms of just SaaS in November 2017?
It would be probably less than a quarter of that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So call it maybe 50 grand.
Yeah.
Okay. That's impressive growth. So where's most of that growth come from?
It's coming through in that split. So half of it's coming from the SMB mid-tier market, and half of it's coming from our enterprise clients. We've got a lot of solid enterprise clients, and their monthlies are anything up to $15K a month.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at your revenue churn per year, what is that today? Gross. Don't add back expansion.
So on the gross,
a range is cool. A range is cool too, by the way.
Sorry, excuse me.
That's okay.
Well, I'd have to sit down and do the sums on that. I'm not good on my feet.
That's okay. Well, I mean, churn's critical though in a SaaS company. Most CEOs know what their churn is.
True. And in the last 6 months, our churn has just been reduced dramatically. So we got a lot of our churn early on in the business, which is when we had a lot of mostly small, medium businesses on the platform who dropped off because they weren't the right fit.
So how high was it? How bad was churn back then?
I would say we had about a It was high. I would say between a 40 and a 60% churn.
Annually?
Yes.
And what have you been able to drop that to?
We haven't. We probably have it's down to around 5% and going less because
per month?
Annually.
Okay, so wait, so you went from 50% annual churn down to 5% annual churn in 12 months?
Yep.
Okay, and I mean, why? That's significant. Why? How'd that change?
Because some of the churn was us actually letting go of the client. This relationship isn't working. So we encourage them to actually go to other suppliers in some cases because our development and the direction that we were taking was not in line with what they wanted to achieve. And so some of that was us saying, hey, look, this isn't going to work out. Let's depart and end the business relationship. So in some cases, we effectively, I guess you would call it, sack the client.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, so revenue churn is down now today. And then when you look at the customers you had exactly a year ago, by what percent do they typically expand by year over year? Do you know?
Sorry, just there was a little bit of a lag there.
That's okay. Expansion revenue. What's that at?
Question? You'll have to define expansion revenue for me. I'm not familiar with that term.
Yeah. So if you have folks that start off in year one paying you $1,000 per month or call it 12 grand a year, by year two, what do you expand them to typically?
Gotcha. So they're stepping up in tiers. So the tiers that they would step up in, it really depends on what their niche is. So in the consumer market, where they're going after, say, dress rental, we're seeing quite large expansion on that revenue. So let's say they start at 500, we'd expect them to be at a $2,000 per month rate in the next 9 months. Whereas a community site, more like a Hallmark, where they have, say, 40,000 members, and its growth is very steady, incremental. What we also see is that the expansion in revenues isn't necessarily based on the number of users or products or services that are sold through the marketplace. It's around usage. So as the usage increases and they turn on more functionality.
Yeah, but usage of what? Usage specific, like.
So there's different modules that can be turned on in a marketplace. Maybe they start just purely transactionally, like, hey, buy my stuff, buy my product, or rent my dress, or rent my office space. But we turn on a community functionality. And suddenly people aren't actually going straight to the transaction. They're discussing topics of interest within that community of practice.
So do you price like per topic? If people have 1,000 topics, your ARPU?
Purely usage. Very similar to the AWS model. So we just go based on how many computational cycles, how many API calls, how much data is uploaded.
I see.
That's one approach. With our ecosystem of developers might have functionality like a learning management system, and they may have a license fee for X number of users to use that IP on someone else's marketplace.
So Adam, I'll add up all this together to the macro level, right? If you go back a year, all the people you signed up November of 2017, and you look at all that same cohort today, does the expansion revenue more than make up for any lost revenue?
Oh, absolutely.
By how much?
Absolutely.
Over 100%. How much?
I would say at the low end of 120%. It's definitely just over. And it was a good move. It hurt when we were going through that, deliberately reducing our client base. But the investment has paid off hugely.
And then in order to get a new $1,000 a month customer, what's your fully weighted CAC typically?
Well, everything so far has been organic, so we haven't done any formalized advertising.
But fully weighted, so including team members, customer support, onboarding, marketing, sales.
Okay, got you. I don't have a number I can give you on that.
Okay, that's okay. You don't use that metric really to drive acquisition?
No.
What's the team size today?
25.
And where's everyone based?
We have people in the US. So we have in San Francisco, in the Midwest, out of St. Louis, Missouri. We have Sydney, Australia, and predominantly in Europe, we have our engineering team based out of there.
That's great. So San Fran, St. Louis, Sydney, and Europe, 25 people today. Not sure in terms of CAC yet. What about funding? Do you have any plans to raise capital? Do you want to raise capital?
I think, throwing some fuel on the fire would be useful in the year ahead. And I think some strategic investment from the right type of people. And that may even be some of our large enterprise clients might well come in and say, hey, we can actually white label this and take this to our customers.
Yep.
Let's invest. So that's probably where we'll go. We don't necessarily need to do an investment round.
You're profitable right now?
We break even nicely. So what we have is in the last company we built and sold without taking funding, not a dollar.
That's great.
So if we can repeat that, great.
Would you ever, if you do raise, you only just talked about equity. I mean, would you ever consider those something that's non-dilutive, like venture debt?
That is something that's come up actually, and not something I've really considered in the past, but like you are the first person to mention it, but it's something recently that somebody's brought up. Venture debt is one way, even going to the bank and getting a loan. If you've got a good cash flow business and you can show that you've got regular income stream.
Banks are tough though, because you're going to sign in personal guarantees there. Venture debt, usually they don't, no warrants, no covenants, no personal guarantees typically.
Yeah, and they're the pros and cons that we'll be looking into.
Are you bearish or bullish on it?
We're very bullish.
Yeah.
So I think strategic money with a good, solid tech company would be our best. Not just providing some good strategic money, but also revenue stream through their own channel partners.
Yeah, very good, Adam. Let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, what's your favorite business book?
Oh, Crossing the Chasm from Jeffrey Moore has been a great one.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
There is actually Shannon Lucas, who isn't a CEO but should be. She is with Ericsson doing their global innovation rollout. So Shannon Lucas is an inspiration. Customer? Oh, UiPath, absolutely. Good. They're incredible. Juggernaut.
Sorry. No. Is Shannon one of your customers?
Oh, is she a customer? No, she's not.
Okay. Number three, what billing tool do you guys use?
Building tools?
Billing.
Billing tools. We use Xero, and we are switching out of Xero. We've built our own.
Oh, internal. Interesting.
Own billing tool that we've used.
It's great. Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
That's a good one. It varies from 7 to 4.
Okay, so we'll say maybe 5.5 there on average, something like that.
I would say on average, yeah.
And what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
I'm getting married soon, and I've got 5 boys.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's great. And how old are you?
I'm 46. 46, yeah.
46. And last question, what do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. A little bit more humility would have been good at my age back then, I think. Yeah.
Guys, there you have it. Be humble, more humility back then. Now launched again near me, really kind of allows people to build their own version of Facebook internally for their own companies like Intel and Uplift and some other companies. Launched in 2014, again, now serving 150 companies, paying on average $1,000 per month. So $150,000 per month right now in pure SaaS revenue. That's up from $40,000 per month just a year ago. So healthy growth, totally bootstrapped, which obviously is great. 5% logo churn per year. Net revenue retention, though, well over 120% year over year as they work towards more kind of enterprise, higher value accounts. They've got 25 people based between San Fran, St. Louis, Sydney, and Europe, rebranding as platform company here coming up early next year. Adam, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you, Nathan.